Hari Om to all Atmajyotis. Atmajyoti Vishwa Gurukulam welcomes you all to another year of Gita Jayanti celebrations. With the blessings and guidance of our Sadguru, Sri Narasimha Prabhuji, the Light of the Self Foundation, proudly presents our offering of this Gita Jnana. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the Vedas. The Gita says that we should build our spiritual journey, and heaven or hell is created by our actions. We reap what we sow. The Buddha taught, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts and it is made up of our thoughts. Thus, what we think is what we become. It is therefore important to cultivate the right kind of thought and actions. In chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetragna Vibhaga Yoga, Bhagavan gives the virtues to be cultivated within a seeker to purify the kshetra and illuminate it with knowledge. This knowledge helps us realize our own divine and eternal nature. Let us chant these shlokas now. Amanitvam madabhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthairyamatma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara eva cha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Asaktirana vishwangaha utradara grihadishu nityaicha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu mai chananya yogena bhaktiravyabicharini viviktadesha sevitvam aratirjana samsadi adhyatmanyana nityatvam tatvajnanarthadarshanam etajnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. Let us now see the qualities described in these shlokas. Humility, freedom from hypocrisy, non-violence, forgiveness, simplicity, service of Guru, cleanliness of body and mind, steadfastness, self-control, dispassion towards the objects of senses, absence of egotism, aware of the evils of birth, disease, old age and death, non-attachment, absence of clinging to spouse, children, home, etc., even-mindedness amidst desired and undesired events in life, constant and exclusive devotion towards God, inclination for solitary places, aversion towards mundane society, constancy in spiritual knowledge, philosophical pursuit of the absolute truth. Let us dwell deeply into these virtues and understand them through the presentation of the Gita Study Circle. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Srikrishna Arpanamastu.
Hari Om everyone. I am Atmajyoti Shubha. We will be talking about uh, chapter 13, uh, Kshetra Vibhaga Yoga. On that, in that chapter, we have chosen the topic Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. What is it all about? What is this? Every person in this world goes through birth, death, old age, and disease. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi is nothing but birth, death, old age, and diseases. A person, as soon as he is born, he goes through pain. When he is in old age, he is in pain. And when he has diseases, he has pain. And death, obviously, it is painful. So, what is this all about? The cycle of birth and death. It's so painful for everyone in this world. So, how can we get out of this cycle of birth and death? The birth and death, it affects our material body, but not our spiritual body. So, what can we do about it? So, how do we get that spiritual body? The spiritual body we can get when we have the Atmajnana. What is that? It is nothing but when we have attained, when we have the devotion to God as such, we realize that we can gain that Atmajnana by having a spiritual master. So one way is to to know who we are. So how do we know that? We can take the example of Buddha. Buddha saw birth, death, old age, and disease, and that set him on the spiritual path. He realized that they are part of his existence. So his intellect was good, that these things, what he saw, made him renounce his worldly pleasures, and he had the firmness to contemplate that these are all the miseries which are inseparable part of his life, and he has to get out of this material world only through spiritual knowledge. So he is a perfect example of how we can get that spiritual knowledge. That's what set Buddha to the spiritual path. So, in conclusion, if we have to get out of this cycle of birth and death, we can say that let's all work towards this realization of Atmajnana. Atmajnana alone can get us out of the cycle of birth and death, and that I am Brahman alone. I am Brahma only. That knowledge will definitely help us towards the Atmajnana. For this, we have to have a strong will as to how to get that jnana. Thank you.
हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् अध्याय 13 ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಜ್ಞ ವಿಭಾಗ ಯೋಗ 8ನೆಯ ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಾರ್ಥೇಷು ವೈರಾಗ್ಯಂ ಅನಹಂಕಾರ ಏವ ಚ ಜನ್ಮ ಮೃತ್ಯು ಜರಾವ್ಯಾಧಿ ದುಃಖ ದೋಷಾನುದರ್ಶನಂ. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಭಗವಾನ್ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣರು ಅರ್ಜುನನ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಸುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅರ್ಜುನನು ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಅರ್ಜುನರೇ. ಈ ಲೋಕ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಮಾಯಾ ಪ್ರಪಂಚ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ. ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ, ಅಭಿರುಚಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಮೋಹವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಬೇಡ. ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಮಾಯಾ ಪ್ರಪಂಚ ಹಾಗೂ ಪರಲೋಕ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಈ ದೇಹ ತ್ಯಾಗದ ನಂತರ ಹೋಗುವ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಲೋಕ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಪರಲೋಕ ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ವರ್ಗ ಮತ್ತು ನರಕ ಲೋಕ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಲೋಕ ಇರಲಿ, ಇಹಲೋಕ ಇರಲಿ, ಪರಲೋಕ ಇರಲಿ, ಅವುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಅತಿಯಾದ ವಿಚಾರ ಬೇಡ. ಅವುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮೋಹ ಬೇಡ, ಆಸೆ ಬೇಡ. ಅವುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅಹಂಕಾರವೂ ಕೂಡ ಇರಕೂಡದು ಎಂದು ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹೇಳುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಈ ಜನ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಉತ್ತಮವಾದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿರುವೆ, ಮುಂದಿನ ಜನ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಇದರಿಂದ ದೇವರು ಉತ್ತಮ ಜನ್ಮವನ್ನು ನೀಡುತ್ತಾನೆ ಎಂಬ ಅಹಂಕಾರದ ವಿಚಾರವೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಳಿಯಕೂಡದು ಎಂದು ಭಗವಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಭಗವಂತ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳುತ್ತಾನೆ, ನಿನ್ನ ಹುಟ್ಟು, ಸಾವು, ಮುಪ್ಪಿನಾವಸ್ಥೆ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ದೇಹಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವ ರೋಗ ತಾಪತ್ರಯಗಳು, ಅವುಗಳಿಂದ ಉಂಟಾಗುವ ದುಃಖ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂಕಟಗಳು, ದೋಷಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನೀನು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಏಕೆ ಚಿಂತಿಸುವೆ? ಅಂದರೆ ಮುಂದೆ ನನಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ಬೋದು, ವಯಸ್ಸಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ಮುಪ್ಪು ಬಂದಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೋಗ ರುಜಿನಗಳು ಬರಬಹುದು ಎನ್ನುವ ಮುಂದಿನ ಆಲೋಚನೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಭವಿಷ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಚಿಂತನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವೆ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಪಡೆದ ಕರ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಬಿಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಏನನ್ನು ಕರ್ಮ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅದರ ಫಲವನ್ನು ಈ ಜನ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಅನುಭವಿಸಬೇಕು. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಮುಕ್ತರಾಗಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗೆ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಚಿಂತೆಯನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು. ಬರುವುದು ಬರಲಿ ಎಂದು ನಾವು ಈ ವರ್ತಮಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದ್ದು ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಭೂತ ಭವಿಷ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚಿಂತಿಸುವುದನ್ನು ಬಿಡಬೇಕು. ಹಿಂದೆ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮತ್ತು ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುವುದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ವಿಚಾರಿಸಬಾರದು. ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುವುದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥದ್ದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಭಗವಂತನಿಗೆ ಸಮರ್ಪಿಸಬೇಕು. ಈ ಕ್ಷಣ ಮಾತ್ರ ನನ್ನದು. ಈ ಭೂತನೂ ಭಗವಂತನದೇ, ಭವಿಷ್ಯನದು ಭಗವಂತನದೇ. ಈ ಕ್ಷಣ ಏನಿದೆಯೋ, ಈ ವರ್ತಮಾನ, ಇದು ಮಾತ್ರ ನನ್ನದು ಎಂದು ತಿಳಿದು ಅದನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿ ಆನಂದದಿಂದ ತಲ್ಲೀನನಾಗಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡು. ಅದರ ಫಲಾಪೇಕ್ಷೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನನಗೆ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡು. ಆಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ನೀನು ಆನಂದದಿಂದ ಇರಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಎಂದು ಅರ್ಜುನನ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣನು ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳುತ್ತಾನೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Hari Om everyone, I am AJ Padma Karthik. In Kshetragna Yoga, Bhagavan gives a direct explanation of the knower. The discrimination between the inert and the true self is explained in this chapter. Verses 8 to 13 of this chapter enlists 20 qualities of the knower or the Kshetragna. These are the essential qualities for the seeker to experience the self. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, that is, birth, death, old age and sickness, are the changes every living body goes through, thereby resulting in sorrow, anxiety, anguish, fear, and much more. This results in pain at various levels. It could be physical, emotional, mental. If the awareness of what is more important, the material things which bring this pain, or the spiritual growth which helps one to get rid of these, is not there, one cannot have a firm resolve to continue on the spiritual path. Once the realization and the material things that we accumulate are understood by the mind, the resolve to progress in this path becomes stronger. To make one's willpower stronger in this, one has to constantly remember the nature of the physical body and the afflictions that come with it. Only with repeated contemplation, one can make the resolve to be detached, and this pain that one continuously experiences and the need to be free from this pain is what drives the seeker to progress in the spiritual journey and seek his true self. Thank you.
Hari Om Atmajyoti. This is Krishna. So today I'm going to talk about my understanding and what Krishna tells us for leading a good life in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 13 verses 9. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dosha Anudarshanam. So here Srikrishna is telling us to clearly see who we are and what are the life phases of every human being, also other creatures in the life. So it is in this Shlokas tells to ability to see the real true nature, that is Janma, birth, Mrityu, the death, Jara, the old age, Vyadi, the disease. So through Janma, it is life begins as it hopes and with a joy and hope. But every stage of this Janma, it's keep on changing. One should not get attached to any of this materialistic life. Like we shouldn't get identified with our body and with this materialistic life. So Janma, as everybody says, it's like all joyful and everything. Mrityu, it's a death. It's inevitable, and it's contemplating the reality of death, and it helps us to prioritize what does truly matters in this life, and also it encourages us with a purpose and to contribute positively to the world. And Jara, the aging process. It is again a universal aspect of life. It's also we are recognizing the inevitability of old age prompts us to cultivate the inner strength and the resilience and a sense of detachment from the external changing aspect of the life. The next is the disease. Disease, it's a common illness, is a part of human experience. One should acknowledge the existence of disease, which in turn teaches us to take care of our body, minds, and promoting the well-being and compassion for others facing the health challenges. So as we live in the modern lives, most of the majority of people are distracted and helps identified with the mind and our body and our emotions. So through this Krishna's teaching, which helps us to remind to look behind the and superficial and focus on the eternal aspect of our existence. So in turn, it encourages us to seek the higher purpose and transcending the temporary pleasure and pains of the materialist world. Yeah, thank you.
Hari Om everyone. On this topic that we are discussing today, as the cycle of life and death is known to everybody, every human body goes through, or every being rather goes through birth, death, disease, ailment, sickness, and suffering. Firstly, my understanding of this teaching or this quality that one should have is acceptance towards that the body will go through this cycle, and how rather than praying and hoping that I should not fall sick or I should not have this, the acceptance to go through this rather than complaining about it is the first realization that we cannot escape it. Rather than seeing it as a limitation, how can one look at objectively in every situation and then act upon it as an event that is happening in our life, and not happening to me or happening to us, but rather as an event, as an observer, how one can train ourselves, our mind to see it like we would watch a movie, but we don't actually take the characters home, or we don't live the movie itself, is the primary teaching of Srikrishna in this particular verse that is there. And this particular attitude or approach or quality can be developed only through detachment and realization that will come from conscious practice and building that self-realization. Hari Om.
Jai Sri Krishna. I am Atmajyoti Vijay. Today I am trying to interpret or explain the chapter number 13 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Chapter number 13, 8 to 12 talks about 21 gunas, out of which we are picking up one guna, which is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukha Doshano Darshanam. It talks about death, it talks about birth, death, Jara, the old age, the disease, the evils, the dukha, the dosha, the faults and the perception. Though we all rejoice on the birth of a child, the world of unborn in the womb is suffering, it is distressful. We do not remember how much distress we suffered in the womb of our mother. Likewise, suffering is there. There is no escape from old age and disease. We should have a pessimistic view of this material life. Only then we can advance in spiritual life. One should try to understand the distress of birth, old age, disease, and death. Arthat, meaning, one should keep in mind always the evils of birth, death, old age, diseases, and suffering. The knowledge of self is acquired only if one can differentiate between the material wealth and the spiritual wealth. Only when we can contemplate the miseries of life, which are inseparable, one can appreciate the spiritual wealth. Lord Buddha, he attained enlightenment with just one exposure to these facts of life. When he stepped out of his palace, he saw the birth, he saw the suffering, he saw the old age, and he saw the death. After which he had a self-realization and renounced the material world, and he tried to be one with the God. That is what we, the earthlings, should try to be. Hari Om.
Hari Om, I'm Atmajyoti Shilpa, and today the topic I'm going to speak on is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Doshanu Darshanu. That is awareness of the evils of birth, death, old age, and diseases. In our daily lives, it is through the body that we experience the outside world, and we forget that we exist in this world only because of Him. We feel that we exist and function in a certain way purely because of our own actions. This living in constant ignorance leads to getting too attached to temporary things, which give us happiness or joy, which is short-lived. We live under the illusion that this will give us permanent happiness and chase our desires. This creates stress, anxiety, and fear, resulting into diseases, old age, and early death. Nothing in the universe escapes the constant cycle of birth and death. But beyond this, the constantly changing universe is something that is constant and unchanging. That is the absolute. To attain the absolute, think of your body as the field of passion and your soul as the knower of the field. To become the knower of the field, be humble, do not hurt anyone, do not be deceitful, be patient, have self-control, serve your teachers, learn to enjoy the pleasure of your own company. Participate in your role wholeheartedly, but let it not affect you. Think of the Lord constantly with unwavering discipline. The knower knows the truth and is not disturbed. The wise sees that the doer of all action, good or bad, is the body, not the soul. The soul has no qualities. It is the soul that stands witness to the action of the body. It is untouched by the body's action. Thank you.
Hari Om, this is Atmajyoti Vijay. So you already have heard our Atmajyotis explaining about the qualities I as a seeker have to develop. What is the purpose of all these shlokas? It is truth, realize and use. So each of the shloka gives us insight into certain universal truth, and I have to realize and apply in my life. So what is the truth that I can realize from this particular quality that we have picked up The truth is that there is a changing aspect of me and there's an unchanging aspect of me. As an example, when I own a car, I don't say I am the car, I own the car. And if there's a problem with the car, I say the car is having the problem and I look at how to address it. Likewise, through this quality, Srikrishna is prompting us to develop the awareness about what is changing, what is the changing self in me. The body, the mind, the intellect, there is a changing self. And anything like that which is changing goes through Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So these are the natural changes. So first of all, I have to learn to accept. Next, by becoming aware that I am not that, just like how I can examine a problem in my car in a very dispassionate way, I can realize how to address various kinds of issues that may be there in this body and mind. As an example, if let's say I have to develop the quality of waking up early, then I can see what is my food habit, what is the nature of the way that I'm thinking, when am I sleeping. So like that, by becoming aware of the machine and by understanding the nature of the machine, I can also see how to modify the machine to bring about the necessary change I want in my life. So like that, Sri Krishna is guiding us to develop the qualities, these 21 qualities, so that we can have a happy, healthy, peaceful life, which is for serving the others. Hari Om.
Hari Om to all the Atmajyotis. I am iLeader Aditya, and today I'll be talking about the word non-attachment or anasaktihi. So what does the word anasaktihi mean? What does it mean on a surface level? How can we understand it deeper? And how can we implement this on our life? So before I get into that, there's a really beautiful shloka from the Bhagavad Gita from chapter 2 that talks about this word. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. So what does this shloka mean? What is Krishna trying to tell us in this shloka? So this shloka essentially means that when we are surrounded by any objects around us, all the objects of the senses. So let's take for example my calculator here. So when we are surrounded by this calculator, I'm constantly using it for, let's say, my studies, or let's say for some kind of work. So when I'm constantly using it, I have a sense of attachment towards the calculator. So as I use it more and more, I grow more attached to it because I feel, oh, it's helping me. This calculator is mine. So I have a sense of the calculator and I have a sense of the relationship. So that calculator is mine. So when we have this kind of attachment, I have more desire for it. So I feel like, oh, I want to use more of it. A really much more easily understandable example is a smartphone. So as we use a smartphone, we want to use it more. We have some people even have an addiction towards their smartphone. So like that, when we have a desire for an object, eventually that leads to anger. How does it lead to anger? Let's say you're using your phone, and then your parents notice that you're using your phone too much, and then they take it away for a few days. You get really angry at them. You feel, oh, that is my phone. How can you take it away from me? My phone, me. So as you can see, there's a sense of the phone and there's a sense of my relationship with this phone, or There's a sense of that phone belongs to me. So we can see two parts in this, essentially two kind of sides to this. So one is the phone itself, which is an object which you can see, which you feel is separate from you, and another is the ego, the sense of me and who I am. So we can see this in this picture. So I have a huge ego saying that's my car, that's my phone, that's my house, that's my money, or I am. For me, I am Aaditya. I'm 17 years old. I'm smart. I'm not smart. So we have many notions or many ideas of who I am, and this is called an ego. So when our ego has an attachment towards something, it naturally, like Krishna said, it causes anger and causes many more problems within us. We have we get annoyed when something goes and we throw tantrums. So to understand this, there's a beautiful story of Buddha and his disciple Ananta. We have iLeader Vidisha here to narrate the story for us briefly.
Hari Om. My name is Vidisha, and today I'm going to narrate a story on Buddha and his disciple Ananta. Once, Buddha and Ananta were going on their way to beg alms. That time they stopped at an old woman's house. Then the old woman opened the door and said, "You noble-looking men, why are you begging for alms? Aren't you supposed to earn money?" Then Ananda was very angry and very distressed. That time, Buddha was just not reacting. The old woman started shouting at them very much. She started to use ill-mannered words at them. That time, Ananda wanted to also yell back at her, but he did not. Then, after they left, Ananda asked Buddha, "Master, why didn't you tell her anything? Why couldn't you say that it's our dharma to go and beg?" Buddha kept calm and said, "Wait, I'll explain." Buddha gave his begging bowl to Ananda and said, "You accepted this begging bowl. Like that only, if you didn't accept this begging bowl, then you wouldn't have this. Like that only, I did not accept the words," the old woman said. The old woman said the words in a very ill-mannered way, "While I did not accept it, so I did not feel it. While you accepted the words, and that's why you are feeling it. You're not supposed to do that, as you're not supposed to be attached to everything," said Buddha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vidisha, for that beautiful story. So what can we understand from that story? We can see that Buddha has not only let go of the objects, but he has also let go of his own ego. When the old woman spat at him and swore at him with a lot of anger or a lot of spite, he didn't even react. So we can see that he's given up that sense of who I am, and so he doesn't have a sense of that this thing belongs to me or that belongs to me. He knows that everything and everyone around him is one and the same. So that's what this shloka essentially tells us, or even the word anasaktihi. So at a much more deeper level, we can see that anasaktihi not only means not being attached to objects, that it is true that we shouldn't be attached to objects, but we should also not be attached to our own sense of who I am. Okay, that's fair. But how do I use this on a day-to-day basis, and how will this help me as a person functioning in the world? Let's say my name is Aaditya, but now that I understood that I'm not Aaditya, I'll go around and not even tell my name, and when someone asks what's your name, I'll be like, I don't have a name, I'm not this person, I'm not that person. That's not what I'm saying. That shouldn't be what you should do after this. That shouldn't be the takeaway. You do need some labels to function in this world. So I do need the label that I am this person, I am this age, I am this standard. That label is really useful for functioning in society. But within me, I should understand that I'm not the labels. So yes, there are labels, but I should know that I'm not the labels themselves. So it's just like you wearing clothes. So I'm wearing the clothes that I'm Aaditya. And when I take it, and I know that I'm not the shirt Aditya that I'm wearing. So when I really wear it, I should keep it in my mind that this is just a shirt, or this is just a label that I'm putting for myself to function in society. So and another really good takeaway is the saying Atmano Mokshartam Jagadhitaya cha. What does this mean? So Atmano Mokshartam Jagadhitaya cha. Essentially, it means me and the world were one and the same, and I should help the world and take care of the world like how I take care of myself. Let's take my finger for example. I know that I have a sense that, oh, this is my finger. Let me treat it with as much care as I can, as much love as I can. And I take care, I cut my nails, I bathe it every day, I wash it every day. So I have that love and I have that care for my finger. Similarly, when I understand that everything and everyone are one and the same, we take care of everyone and everything one and the same. Like how I take care of my own body, I would take care of another human being or another object. So how am I saying that me and the whole world are one and the same? We all know that everything is made up of molecules. So we all know that the objects over there or the object over here, let's say this calculator, the molecules that make up the calculator is the same the molecules that make up me. Science may beg to differ and say that, oh no, calculator is a completely different thing and humans are a completely different thing. But essentially, we're all different forms of energy. So when we understand that everyone and everything is one and the same, when we're all just forms of energy, just like how Buddha understood that he is just a form of energy and he is not the ego, that's when we can take care of everyone, and that's when we have no worries and we have no anger in life. That's what the word non-attachment means. So when we understand that we are non-attachment, so we are not this ego, or we are not this body, or this calculator does not belong to me, or this smartphone, or anything for that matter, anything around us, including our own body, does not belong to me. That's when we are truly free, and that's when we truly have that sense of non-attachment. That's all I wanted to share for today. Thank you and Hari Om.
लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु May all beings be happy, healthy and peaceful. Harihi Om Tat Sat.